This is John Henry Weston for LifeSite News, bringing you breaking news out of Rome. Archbishop Vigano and Bishop Tobin and Strickland have responded to the Pope's approval of homosexual civil unions. In a new film, which will premiere in North America on Sunday but premiered in Rome today, Pope Francis has made his most clear statement contradicting Catholic Church teaching by calling for homosexual civil unions to be legalized. Speaking of homosexual civil unions in the new documentary released today in Rome, he said, and I quote, "What we have to create is a civil union law. That way, they are legally covered. I stood up for that," end quote.
Las personas homosexuales tienen derecho a estar en la familia. Son hijos de Dios, tienen derecho a una familia. No se puede echar de la familia a nadie ni hacer la vida imposible por esa gente. Lo que tenemos que hacer es una ley de convivencia civil. Tienen derecho a estar cubiertos legalmente.
LifeSite immediately reached out to several bishops and cardinals for comment, and thus far, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano has replied with an extensive analysis of the situation. In addition, U.S. Bishops Strickland and Tobin have commented. It's not the first time Pope Francis has contravened church teaching in the matter of homosexuality, but it is one of his clearest statements contravening established church teaching. In 2003, a document by then Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, later Pope Benedict XVI, and approved and ordered published by Pope St. John Paul II, the Church issued specific guidance on the need to reject homosexual civil union proposals. The document was called, and I quote, "Considerations regarding proposals to give legal recognition to unions between homosexual persons," end quote. And it states that, and I quote again, "All Catholics are obliged to oppose the legal recognition of homosexual unions," end quote. Catholic News Agency reports that the film includes the story of the pontiff encouraging two Italian men in a same-sex relationship to raise their children in their parish church. Speaking of his pastoral approach in an interview in the film, the Pope said, and I quote, "Homosexuals have a right to be part of the family. They're children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable because of it," end quote. Bishop Thomas Tobin of Providence, Rhode Island, has released a statement on his website saying, and I quote, "The Holy Father's apparent support for the recognition of civil unions for same-sex couples needs to be clarified. The Pope's statement clearly contradicts what has been the long-standing teaching of the Church about same-sex unions." He continued, "The Church cannot support the acceptance of objectively immoral relationships. Individuals with same-sex attraction are beloved children of God and must have their personal human rights and civil rights recognized and protected by law. However," he added, "the legalization of their civil unions, which seek to simulate holy matrimony, is not admissible," end quote. Bishop Joseph Strickland of Tyler, Texas, tweeted on the matter, only saying, and without quoting the Pope, only saying, "From the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, June 3rd, 2003, and linking to that document I told you about before, the Vatican document called Considerations Regarding Proposals to Give Legal Recognition to Unions Between Homosexual Persons." But Archbishop Vigano has provided a full analysis available on LifeSite News, which he released after I spoke with him earlier today by phone. He said, and I quote, "One does not have to be a theologian or moral expert to know that such statements are totally heterodox and constitute a very serious cause of scandal for the faithful." He continued, "But pay careful attention. These words simply constitute the umpteenth provocation by which the ultra-progressive part of the hierarchy wants to artfully provoke a schism, as it has already tried to do." He said that the Pope is trying to raise the stakes in a crescendo of heretical affirmations in such a way that it will force the healthy part of the Church, which includes bishops, clergy, and faithful, to accuse him of heresy in order to declare that healthy part of the Church schismatic and the enemy of the Pope, end quote. Archbishop Vigano warns that fighting the Pope on this matter could land some church leaders in trouble with the law, since, as he says, in many nations there are laws in force which criminally punish anyone who considers sodomy reprehensible and sinful, or who does not approve of the legitimization of homosexual matrimony, even if they do so on the basis of their creed, end quote. Bergoglio would thus have on his side not only the deep church, but also the deep state, says Archbishop Vigano. He concludes this way: as Catholics, we are called to side with those who defend life, the natural family, and national sovereignty. We thought that we had the Vicar of Christ at our side. We painfully acknowledge that in this epochal clash, he who ought to be guiding the bark of Peter has chosen to side with the enemy in order to sink it. End quote. That is, to sink the bark of Peter. Pray dearly right now for the church. For LifeSite News, this is John Henry Weston, and may God bless you.